Hello, everyone. My name is Gryphonknight, and I am the Emperor of the Nerds, and I welcome you all to my nerd empire. Today, we are reacting to a video, and this one is called Why Nerds Hate the Woke Movement. Now, I personally don't like the woke movement when it comes to video games because I believe they're just trying to push their own political agenda or their own whatever they believe. It's just they seem to forget to focus on the game and the story and trying to make a good game, and all they're doing is trying to push their agenda onto the game to do whatever they want. But let's see what this video has to say, shall we?
If you're a human being here on Earth, America specifically, then you've likely been exposed to what is called the woke movement. And if you're not familiar with the terminology, to keep a fairly complicated definition simple, it's basically the act of speaking up on different social issues.
Let's see. Woke is an adjective derived from African America Vernacular English, AAVE, originally meaning alertness to racial prejudice and discrimination. Beginning in the 2010s, it came to be used as slang for a broader awareness of social inequalities, such as racial injustice, sexism, and denial of LGBT rights. Now, I think when woke was first came around in the 2010s for here in America, I believe it started off as a good thing to try and like it says, find the social inequalities for stuff. But I think it quickly morphed into something that was more stupid, more annoying, trying to push an agenda on people who don't care for it. And it no longer became about injustice, sexism, denial, or inequalities or anything. It just became about pushing an agenda, pushing people's ideas and beliefs onto others. And that's just how it came now. And now nobody wants it. And anytime a game or a business goes woke, like it says, it goes broke. I mean, one great thing to know, one great example of it would be Concord. At least that's what people say, that Concord was a woke thing, and within 2 weeks, it's being shut down.
Issues throughout America, issues like gay rights, trans rights, women's rights, etc. Now, if you're a nerd like myself, then you've seen this particular movement infiltrate itself into a lot of media that we consume, whether it be TV shows, movies, video games, social media, or whatever have you. You've probably seen aspects of this movement all over the place. But the thing about this woke stuff being all over entertainment nowadays is that it doesn't come without its controversy. You can see it all over social media, people on one side going at it with others and shit like that. And nerds aren't only going at it with people on the woke side, but they're also taking their grievances up with the entertainment industry as well. You can constantly see geeks call out developers and writers for putting this stuff all over entertainment nowadays by review bombing, making hate threads, and shit like that. So to avoid getting it twisted, there are people that exist on this side that are straight up shitty individuals that are intolerant of others, like people that are actually straight up racist or legitimately hate gays. Those are the people I'm talking about in this video. I think we can all agree that those kind of people suck. People I'm talking about are nerds like myself that have no problem with trans people or women or whatever, but have legitimate reasons as to why this movement really frustrates us. So without further ado, let's finally answer the question as to why nerds hate the woke movement.
Forced message, yes, forced messages.
What I believe is the number one reason as to why this woke shit sucks is how much it's repeatedly forced into everything nowadays. And
Yeah, it's rare to find games nowadays that don't have what is known as a woke agenda. Um, I mean, one that just came out, Space Marine 2, you don't see any sort of woke agenda in there. They're staying true to the lore of the game. I don't really know much about Warhammer 40k lore, but from what I've heard, they've stayed true to the lore. They've not added any sort of agenda into it or anything like that. Same thing, I think, with First Descendant and a few other games. They have not added any sort of woke agenda. They just stayed true to the game, how it's supposed to go, the story, and all that stuff. That's how a game should be, and that's how it was back in the day as well. And now a lot of games are just coming out with a woke agenda, and not a lot of them are doing very well.
not only is it forced, but in some instances, it's just woven into the story terribly. And this sort of thing gives off the vibe that the writers are disingenuous and just putting in the story just for the hell of making it more inclusive, rather than actually writing a coherent story.
I've said this many times, but not everything, not every game, movie, TV show, not everything needs inclusivity and diversity.
What I'll do to prove my point is give a little bit of examples, 2 of them to be in fact. Exhibit A, Rey in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Also, a little bit of warning, I'm going to be shit-talking Disney a lot in this video. For anyone who's not aware, one aspect of the woke movement is speaking up against misogyny and hammering home the point that women can do any and everything a man can! And while this belief isn't so much of a problem in itself, this ideology has manifested itself into a disease within the entertainment industry known as girl bosses. Rey herself is a girl boss because not only is she directly equal to a man, she is practically the embodiment of perfection itself. Throughout all 3 movies, Rey shows no weaknesses, as everything she does happens to be something she's a master at. Lightsaber combat with a trained force-wielding killer, light work. Piloting a starship that she's never seen before, too easy, man, come on, too easy. Being a leader among a group of people while she has never been seen in a similar setting? Do you see what I'm getting at here? Because they tried so hard to force her into the strong female protagonist role, Rey is a terribly written character with no true flaws, no struggles, or weaknesses, solely because they wanted to write a powerful female main character. The thing is that you don't have to force your female characters into this embodiment of perfection sort of ordeal just so you can make them likable.
I think one of the greatest examples of a well-written female lead is the Alien series. Ripley. She is, in my opinion, she's one of the greatest female written characters, because she is written as, yeah, she's not very strong, and she's dealing with a monster for the first time. She has weaknesses and everything. She's just well written.
Or just so you can make them more
Alice is another good one from the Resident Evil movie series.
Powerful or strong, because look at Katara, for example. She's one of the most powerful and beloved characters in The Last Airbender, but she is not without her flaws because her temper is through the fucking roof. Or look at Evelyn from Everything Everywhere All at Once. She's a closed-minded workaholic that has trouble seeing any other perspective other than her own, yet that doesn't make her any less enjoyable on the screen, because she still comes across as strong, she still comes across as likable. Disney isn't a stranger to this girl boss thing either. Take a look at Captain Marvel or She-Hulk, for example. But I'm not selling you yet on this forced messages argument, am I? So let me give you another example. Exhibit B, Destiny 2, Saint 14, and Osiris. Now, I'm going to express this from the perspective that none of you have played Destiny to the point of actually knowing these 2 characters, so allow me to paint the picture for you. Ever since Destiny was introduced in 2014, we've heard stories of these 2 characters. In the lore, they're both legendary heroes who've had a dramatic impact on the world we know in the game. Based off all the story we have in the game, we're led to believe that Saint 14 and Osiris were very close friends, almost brother-like. If you don't believe me, then see his dialogue where he refers to Saint as his brother.
Guardian, I knew Saint 14 had come after me. The fault lies with me. I can accept that. But this knowledge would turn my brother away from me. Turn my brother away from me. Turn my brother away from me.
But anyways, with all its context of believing that these 2 were comrades, we later find out later that these niggas are gay. Yes, they're lovers, and it doesn't make any sense. I don't want to give off the impression that I hate gay characters or that I'm against homosexual storylines, because I'm not. However, when a clearly platonic relationship randomly turns into a homosexual relationship, I'm going to look at the writers and I'm going to ask a few questions.
I mean, I didn't really understand it either, but I didn't really care, honestly. I just did not care that they were a gay couple. It's just like, oh, okay, they're gay. Oh, I guess that's a thing now. Moving on. That's basically what my thought process was.
It would be different if it was hinted throughout the game's story that these characters had a romantic relationship or that one of them was gay, because then it'll feel like a genuine storyline, something that was always meant to be there with intent to be built up to. But it wasn't. In current day, these characters talk about intimate dreams they shared together and plans they've apparently always had for their relationship. Well, if that's the case, why'd you refer to this nigga as your brother? Unless Osiris has some real freak nasty kinks that we don't know about, something ain't adding up. Like, if I walk up to my girlfriend right now and call her my sister, she's gonna look at me like I'm insane. This writing doesn't give off the vibe that you actually wanted a homosexual couple in your story out of genuine inclusion, but out of insincere pandering, and it just feels so incredibly forced. But I gave you 2 examples of how this woke inclusivity is forced into stories, so how about I give you an example of how this particular inclusivity is done correctly? Not sure if any of you have watched the movie Nimona before. If not, I'd highly recommend it. Great movie, but don't worry, I'm not gonna spoil it here. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. The main character, Ballister, is gay, and it isn't a secret. He's literally holding hands with this dude in the first 5 minutes of the movie. It isn't forced, and it isn't a defining part of his personality. He's just a guy who happens to be gay. End of story. You don't have to make.
Yeah, one of the things when it comes to the woke culture in like games, it's not just seen as like, oh, okay, he's gay, that's fine, or in movies or TV shows. It's they when it comes to the woke thing, they seem to make it all about that thing, like they're trying to force that thing into the forefront of the story or whatever. It's just like, okay, we get it, he's gay, or okay, we get it, they're trans or whatever. They're just they force that thing into the forefront of the story. They're making it all about that. It's just like, you don't need to force it down our throats. We get it. We don't really care. Just get on with the fucking story.
Make these inclusive characters perfect, and you don't have to force them to be something that they aren't. They just have to be normal, well-written characters. However, that's the problem with entertainment nowadays. These characters that are made to be inclusive are typically poorly written into the stories that they're in. It makes it feel like their minority status was a priority instead of the actual character itself. Nobody really likes seeing an agenda forced into their faces when they just want to be entertained, because that's what these movies and video games are made to do after all, right? Entertain? It seems like that with each creation of these kinds of characters, we're getting further and further away from the fact that we're supposed to be having fun enjoying these things, and closer to every company creating a checklist of what minorities to include in their franchises. But God forbid we say how we feel about this sort of problem, which leads me to my next point.
What the fuck?
How many times do you see an individual on the internet give their opinion on how they don't like something woke related, and then they're called things such as homophobic or misogynistic, racist, or even the age-old term, a bigot? This sort of thing happens regularly, and I find it to be in the top 3 most irritating things on the internet. Not all lefties are like this, but a particular loud group of them will not hesitate in antagonizing you if you even dare to have a perspective that differs from theirs. As for an example of such a thing happening, look no further than everyone's favorite actress out of Star Wars, Amanda Stenberg. A little over a week ago, in response to the cancellation of The Acolyte, Amanda posted an 8-minute video basically talking about how grateful she is for the people she worked with and the fans who adore the show, which is all good and normal. But throughout the video, she refers to people who dislike the show as alt-right bigots, and that the cancellation of the show is because we live in an era of divisiveness.
I would say hyper-conservative, bigotry.
People more than likely didn't like the show because it was horribly written and it had a woke agenda into it. I mean, the one thing I thought was really fucking dumb that they showed a while ago was that woke, or was that forced baby born thing, whatever the fuck that was.
And vitriol, prejudice, hatred, and hateful language towards us, despite and in the face of all of the vitriol that we received and the kind of the targeted attack, I would say, we received by the alt-right.
The fuck? To give some background, I'm a Star Wars fan, and her comments frustrate me greatly. As for why, I spend a lot of time on the internet looking at reviews and seeing criticism of The Acolyte, and a lot of the posts I see are so respectful in the way they convey their points. People point out things like poor acting or bad writing, which aren't insults, but points of criticism. And you're telling me that out of all these people that dislike the show, everyone that had negative things to say, all of them were bigots? Now, I ain't no math major, but according to my calculations, something ain't right. Were there people that said some absolutely vile shit? Yes, absolutely, but this certainly wasn't the majority. Most people were saying the show sucked, because it did. Does not liking something mean that you deserve to be grouped in with?
Yeah, I think it's funny when people give criticism to something, they immediately see it as an attack or something horrible, vitriol, or whatever the fuck they want to label it as. It's criticism. And a lot of people nowadays can't seem to handle fucking criticism. I mean, you need to learn to take the criticism and say, okay, this is what is being criticized. Let's find a way to improve upon so people don't criticize this anymore. and try and make it better. But no, they see the criticism as an attack and just go on the defensive. It's just like, you realize it's just criticism, right? We're not attacking what you've done. We're telling you that this was poorly written and it was bad acting.
If a sect of people that are actually bigots, that is what we in the industry call bullshit. As for another example, if you watched either of my last two videos, then you've heard of the natural disaster known as Concord. If you haven't, definitely go watch those videos. I think they're a good watch. If you know anything about Concord, then you know out of all games to come out this year, it is probably pushing woke culture the absolute most. The game has an almost checklist-like cast diversity, and they even gave the robot a gender identity. My major is computer engineering, and even I don't know how the fuck that works. But as we all know, this game flopped on an unimaginable scale for reasons such as stale gameplay, unappealing cast of characters, blazing on originality, an expensive price tag, and so on. So with all the criticism the game was facing, instead of handling it like adults and taking it on the chin, the game devs crashed out on Twitter calling everyone talentless.
Let's see. I don't really care. It was a huge labor. Is that how you spell labor? From a lot of insanely talented people making an awesome game. Why would I care about a bunch of talentless freaks hating on it? I'm sure having fun playing it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It probably wasn't an amazing game considering how horribly it, played, or how horribly it came out. And you have to say that a game is bad if within 2 weeks of it releasing, it's getting shut down. I would call that extremely bad.
Freaks and blogging people's tweets demanding money.
Let's see. I am so honored to have had this be my first AAA game. It was a huge learning experience, lots of struggles, but I'm glad to have gone through them. Time to go play. Pay me $8 to unhide your tweet. Pay me $8 to unhide your reply. Pay me $8 to unhide your reply. Oh, this person.
To unblock them. You can't make this shit up. Well, technically you can, but I'm not. And this sort of behavior even trickles down to some of the delusional fans, as you can see here. So, like I said, this is certainly not the of some of the delusional fans as...
Let's see. Racist bigotry won again. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Does your day feel that little bit better knowing a great developer comprised of hard-working folks is going to likely be shut down over this? All because you can't whack off to ugly character design and cry about woke games all the time. Yeah, they... I don't think any one of them was... I think they were deliberately made ugly. And that was just fucking stupid. Get the memo. This game wasn't for you in the first place. Now a decent shooter with fresh ideas in a boring F2P market is going to die. It's not a shooter with fresh ideas. It's basically the same as a lot of fucking first-person shooter games out there. It's basically an ugly version, an ugly dumbed-down version of Overwatch. It's not a new, fresh idea. It's basically just a copy-paste idea with ugly characters. Does that make you happy? You are what's wrong with this industry, and because of you, Sony might see this and think PC isn't worth investing their money in for future games. Hope you are satisfied. Edit. Well, congratulations, the game is shutting down completely. Hope you miserable gamers are happy. A lot of them are happy because it was just a horribly made game with woke shit in it. I'm not ready for the wave of bigotry and dog whistles about to be tossed around while waving the failure of Concord as a victory flag. Well, because Concord was a failure, and it's probably a good thing that it did fail.
As you can see here. So, like I said, this is certainly not the entirety of woke supporters, but definitely a loud few that do this. But enough yapping about these idiots here. Let's move on to our next part.
500
A movement led by incompetence.
cigarettes.
Jesus Christ. I saw this episode. It's so fucking funny. 500 cigarettes. That would be expensive.
People typically say a team is only as good as its weakest link. I feel like that's a fucking lie, and I think a better saying is that a team is only as good as its leader, because without proper leadership, a group will be led astray and into the dark.
Yes, it's the same thing with any job. If you have a shitty manager or a shitty CEO, then everything is going to go horribly wrong. Now, if you have it, that is what's known as a boss. There is a difference between a boss and a leader. A boss is somebody who just sees their employees as a number or a dollar sign and just shifts all the work onto everybody else. A leader will actually work with his people and try and make sure the business goes well, try and make sure and also takes care of the people below him. That's what a leader does. A boss doesn't give two shits. But yeah, if you have a horrible leader or horrible management, then yeah, everything's going to go wrong. The weakest link doesn't matter. The weakest link would be the fucking boss.
Dark. And it just so happens that the directors and executives of these media franchises, as well as influencers and actors that back this woke movement shit, are not the people that should be at the forefront of it. I say this because their idiotic beliefs trickle down into the minds of those that blindly follow them. For my first example, I don't think I could find a better fit to the description other than Lucasfilm. I don't know what the hell it is with Disney, but it seems like you have an infatuation with hiring people that are so hyper-focused on showcasing an agenda instead of actually writing a story that people are meant to enjoy. Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, who was hired to be director,
An upcoming live-action Star Wars film helmed by director Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, I don't know how to pronounce her name, is in development. It will feature Jedi Master Rey Skywalker, played by Daisy Ridley, as she builds a new Jedi Order after the events of the 2019 sequel trilogy film Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes, top dog director of an upcoming Star Wars movie said,
I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
Here's the thing, you know a film is going to fail if you're trying to make your female lead strong at the detriment of the male characters. That's not how you make a strong female character. You can't raise one at the detriment of lowering the other. That's how you're going to fail.
why the fuck would you hire someone like that? Star Wars is a media franchise that has a fan base primarily made of dudes, so what fucking sense is it to hire someone who was going to actively make a story that isn't for them? The lack of common sense aside, from a business perspective, what the hell do you think that's gonna do? And then you got these women here. I already talked about this one, but as for this lady, if you don't recognize her, this is Leslie Headland, the director of The Acolyte. You can tell just by the way this woman behaves that she doesn't give a shit about making a good story. She just wants to write gay characters. Watching just a bit of this interview here kind of tells you everything you need to know.
This is gonna be a talking point.
Is it gonna be a talking point?
I'm sure so.
Because nerds are gay.
You heard it here first, boys. I don't know how we got here, but we're here. I guess I'm gay. Shit.
Yeah, fuck.
Never knew.
I guess I'm gay now too. Jesus Christ. I am. When was somebody gonna tell me?
Oh, fuck.
We'd be like, look how gay this is, and then send each other a reference photo.
And are you telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight?
No, he's a fucking robot. Unless I'm not up to date on Star Wars here.
How is a robot supposed to have any sort of sexual preference or have any sort of assigned sex? It's a fucking robot.
I don't think it's mentioned anywhere that this inorganic piece of fucking metal is hardwired to favor PP over VV, or vice versa. Last I checked, C-3PO is a fucking translator droid, not a sexual automaton.
But this is more outward.
I think it's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
Alright bro, what the fuck are you talking about now? Us nerds just want to see lightsabers swinging. If you want to have a gay storyline in your movie, TV show, book, or video game, then by all means, do that. However, when we're talking about a franchise like Star Wars, then why do executives seem like they want it at the forefront of a creative process? Like, bro, if I'm gonna be completely honest, I think even the LGBT community should feel some type of way about this, because if it isn't obvious enough, it's quite literally pandering in its purest form. They're advertising this as the gayest Star Wars just so they can get homosexual people to go and watch it, and it's so incredibly obvious.
All they're trying to do at this point is just trying to get brownie points from the woke community, which is it's horrible what they've done to the Star Wars franchise. Because I grew up with the Star Wars franchise, and I liked Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3. I liked them, and I liked 4, 5, and 6. I thought they were good. And at this point, all they're doing is just shitting on the franchise.
However, Charmine and Leslie are just small pieces of the puzzle. It's this boo-boo brain right here that's really pulling the dummy strings. Kathleen Kennedy, who just so happens to be the president of Lucasfilm, is the one hiring these numbskulls, and is the main reason that Star Wars is more woke than its story nowadays. And this is all to say a similar point I made in the first part of the video, where I said it seems like the agenda nowadays is more important than the story. These particular leaders that are implementing these story elements are the reasonings as to why. Lucasfilm is just one example of this sort of thing happening. Pretty much everywhere we have this sort of thought processes in leadership. Failures like Firewalk Studios, to successful businesses like BlackRock, companies are adapting the woke meta into their businesses and are hell-bent into delivering it every way, shape, and form. And it is so noticeable. What I am very certain of here is that this video could spark some controversy in the way that it seems via the thumbnail and the title. However, I hope in the way that I presented my perspectives, it doesn't come off as disrespectful to any of the communities that I mentioned in this video. I made this video in an attempt to spark some meaningful debate as well as express some frustrations with some of the more extremist aspects of woke culture. And yes, I'm not an idiot. I know that every nerd like myself isn't frustrated at the idea of woke messages infiltrating media, nor do I speak for every nerd that's out there. Which leads me to the questions that I have for everyone watching. How do you feel about woke culture being pretty much everywhere nowadays? Is it something that you advocate for, or is it...
I think woke culture just needs to die out at this point. It just needs to go away, because it's pretty much ruined almost everything in society and in gaming.
Something that you're against? And also, if there's anything I said in this video that you disagree with, or anything that you thought I should have included, please, by all means, let me know in the comments below. Just try your best to keep it civil, if you don't mind. But I do want to know every single thought that's going on in those heads of y'all's. But anyways, I'm gonna get on up out of here. Like the video, only if you liked it, and subscribe if you aren't a weenie. Follow my Twitter that I will have in the description if you aren't a square, but for now, I will see all of you later on. Bye-bye.
It just can't be.
Well, that was why nerds hate the woke movement. And yeah, I believe nerds really do hate the woke movement. It's ruined a lot of games that could have been really good, but they decided to add a agenda into it and try and push their beliefs onto others that don't really give a shit. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd be interested to know what you believe in this woke movement in video games and such. With that being said, I thank you all to the nerds who decided to come out and share this experience with me. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you all enjoyed the reaction. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and help me build the empire of nerds. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.